Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day and that you're getting out to do something you love today. For today's episode of the Daily, I wanted to talk about one relic and one relic only that is in my collection that I acquired through an act of kindness. And I want to encourage you to practice acts of kindness. So, to tell you about this story, I have to tell you about going and getting permissions. If you've been relic hunting long enough, you've gone door to door knocking for permissions, and oftentimes when you're looking for relics, that will lead you to a farm. Now, in many cases, the owner of a farm will be much older, and in fact, oftentimes they're elderly gentlemen and ladies that own large farms. And every time I find myself at one of these large farms with an elderly person at the door, I always try and offer some help. You know, is there anything I can help you with around the house? Do you need a hand with anything? And I think that extending that kindness is something that the world needs more of. So to tell you about this story, I have to tell you about when I was going out here in East Tennessee, first looking for permissions. There was an old home site that I saw that looked just perfect. And I started to look for the landowner, and there was a newer house back in behind this old house. And I drove up the hill, and I knocked on the door, and an older gentleman answered the door, and I told him my name, I told him what I did, and I asked him if I could metal detect around the old house site down there. He said, "Oh yeah, sure, that's no problem at all, you have a good time." And I said, "Okay, thank you so much." And before I left, I said, "Do you need a hand with anything around here before I get started?" And he said, he had kind of a surprised look on his face, and he said, "Well, I've got some salt in the back of my truck for my water conditioner if you wouldn't mind helping me bring it in." So I went down and I grabbed these big 50-pound bags of salt and I hauled them up and dropped them in his garage for him. And he was just as thankful as could be. And he said, "You have a good time down there. I hope you find something." So I drove down the driveway again to the old house and I got out and I started metal detecting. And I'd only been detecting about 10 minutes and I saw a truck coming down the drive. And I was thinking, here it comes, you know, and I've had this happen many times where a person's given me permission. I've gone out and started hunting, and 20 minutes later, here they come and say, "Well, I talked to my wife or I talked to my brother and they'd rather you not be out here." And I thought that's what was coming. So here he came down the driveway and came straight through the field and pulled right up to me, and I'm thinking, here it comes. He rolled down the window and he says, "Hey, when you get finished, come up to the house, I got something for you." Well, I kind of shocked, was like, "Okay, thank you." And he drove back up the driveway real slow, and I continued to metal detect, and I metal detected a couple hours and really didn't find anything of interest. And the day was winding down, and I got in the car, and I remembered he'd said, "Come up to the house." And I was thinking, well, maybe he's got a mini ball or an old Coke bottle or something he thinks I'll think is neat. I'll go up and say goodnight and thank you. So I drove up to the house and knocked on the door, and I told him thank you for letting me hunt. And he said, "Well, come on in. I've got something for you, but I can't pick it up. It's too heavy." Well, of course, my mind starts thinking, what has he got that's too heavy to pick up that he's going to give me? And I followed him around and down into the basement, and there, propping up the den door, was this. Now this is a 45-pound, 8-inch mortar ball from the American Civil War. And of course I was shocked. I was like, where did you get that?" And he told me the story of how his father had found this in a ditch in Kentucky when he was playing as a little kid, and how when he had grown up, his father had used the hole in this cannonball. He'd carve down the bottom of their Christmas tree, and he'd stick it in here and use it as a holder for their Christmas tree. He said, "It's not doing me any good. It's just holding the door open." So my little act of kindness came full circle. Just like sharing your passion, if you share your kindness, oftentimes that kindness will come full circle and right back to you. So get out there, share your passion, share your kindness, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Woo!